Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Spoiler Alerts episode 5, and it is August 25th. And how are you guys doing today? I'm ChanManV, and I'm joined here by Ellohime and Eat My Addiction, of course. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm
I have
excited.
coffee.
You're coughing. You're coughing. Addiction's like eating at like lunch and stuff over here, man.
Vietnamese iced coffee.
Oh,
the best coffee
nice.
ever.
Dude, I
It's
didn't.
so good.
Were you eating Vietnamese food? I didn't even realize.
No,
you
that
were
was
eating.
just like scrambled an egg scramble or something. But it's like from this cafe that does like Asian fusion stuff too.
Fusion, man. That's the way to
Wow,
go these
it's
days.
so trendy and cool. Addiction. Wow. Well, guys,
It's
I
the
don't know
Bay
if you know
Area
this,
for ya.
I'm drinking Vietnamese water, and it's from the hills of the Appalachians and Mount Everest,
Just the hills, not the mountains.
frozen in
Frozen.
India, but then thawed in France. And
Wow. Yeah, me too. Me too.
it tastes like
Yeah.
monkey butt. So
oh,
good.
God.
So good. No, I'm doing good. We're finally closing on the house, which
Oh,
is
nice.
good. That's going to be at the end of the month. So the 29th, we officially move in. We're getting the keys on Saturday. So this backdrop will be no more. You will not see this. Or maybe I'll go and like make the room exactly like this. Like
Can you
office
keep
over there.
can you keep the Nicolas Cage pillows, please?
Oh, you,
Oh,
you
yeah,
gotta
no,
keep
I
the
got-
Nicolas Cage. Oh my gosh,
I've
those
got all three. I've
Those
got
are
all three
vintage.
just waiting.
vintage, man.
Don't you listen to them, Nick. They're just haters. They're just haters.
So were those actually custom made, or are those actually?
No, you can sell them. You can sell them. It's
Oh.
funny because Total Biscuit sent Strippin and Dex Bonus the same exact pillow slips, like the pillow covers. You can just buy them like on Google. There's a
Oh,
whole
yeah,
bunch
of course
of
there
them.
is. Of
on
course.
Amazon for $6.85.
Wait,
One that
$6.85?
Yeah, $6.85.
Okay.
Oh, there's one where he's
Scared me
stroking
for
a
a
rainbow. There's one where it says "See you."
He's
in
got
my
the rainbow
dreams.
one. He's got the rainbow one.
Guys,
There's one that
I have a
says-
huge collection of Nicholas
There's
Stroking
that's
rainbows.
the story. Rainbow. There's one that's just like a nice close up of his face. Says, "Despite all my rage, I am still just Nicolas Cage."
Yeah, I have that one too.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We know the source. We're gonna have to link that in the
Dude,
chat
there's
now.
there's
Link
a
that in
variety
the
of
chat, Nick.
I know, man. Well, listen, I didn't get these for myself. Cora bought them because she set up this whole office for me as a Christmas present. So like
Right.
we have like, if you can't really tell with my chair in the way, but you see like I have like my brand on like leather couches. I got like a couple of them in here. Like it's nice. Like she set this place up nice. And then in true Cora fashion though, like she has to troll in some small way. She can't just do something 100% nice and everything. She has to just kind of pick. So she got all the Nicolas Cage pillows.
I'm buying them right now.
Are you seriously buying them right now?
I'm gonna sleep with Nicolas
my
Cage for the
God.
rest of my life.
We are no
Oh
longer
my
going to talk
gosh.
about Kubo and the two streams.
Exactly.
This is now a
It's
Nicolas Cage stream.
We're doing a Nicolas Cage montage today. So.
Yeah.
We're changing the name to Spoiler Cage Podcast.
Yeah. We're
Have you
so-
ever seen the Nicolas Cage compilations of him like freaking out or
Oh, yeah.
screaming?
Of
Yes,
course.
It's the
yes.
best thing ever with the Requiem for a Dream soundtrack. The da-na, da-na-na-na, and he's like, "No!"
Yeah, exactly.
And then like the Wicker Man, he's like, peace, peace.
I want to see.
Oh, man.
I wonder if you could dedicate an entire podcast to his movies. He
We
has
should-
83 acting credits. You could
Oh my
probably
gosh,
do.
Let me see this. This is.
Yeah,
At
you
least
could probably
83
do-
episodes.
I
and,
used
like,
to,
most
I
of those
used
are
to
starring roles,
love
you know,
his
like-
movies. I used to love his movies at one
Really?
point. Yeah, during like what was it like The Rock and oh gosh,
National Treasure.
National Treasure, and
That was a decent one for
Con
what it was.
Air, and you remember all that? All
He
that?
directed a movie called Sunny back in
Sonny.
2002, starring James Franco.
What? Oh, Sonny.
Yeah, he
What is that?
directed one feature film.
Sonny.
Really?
I don't know that
Mhm.
one.
Maybe we should put that on here. We should just watch it
We
for
should,
shits and giggles.
yeah.
Yeah, like none of us know what it is.
So-
Let's just watch it and see what
Just
Nicolas
watch
Cage has
it.
got.
I mean, James
As,
Franco's in it. He's probably so young. Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, little
Interesting.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be
But yes,
fun.
he plays
Yeah,
a-
Franco.
He plays a gigolo who works for his mom. I actually really want to see this. The meta score is 31. I don't give a shit.
A gigolo that works for his mom. Okay, let's think about that. Right?
Wait. Is his mom the pimp or is he the client? I guess if he works for it,
it's a pimp.
She would be the mistress. So
well,
yeah,
sorry,
the mistress.
If you think about it, like if he's a gigolo working for someone, it might mean that he's doing them.
Yeah.
You know, like
true.
You know, like, oh, Sally's got a gigolo working at her house.
Sally's got
my
son.
Plowing.
He's my best. He's my best employee. How do you talk to your friends about that? That's pretty odd, man.
Yeah,
well, you know, my son's a doctor and my son's a lawyer. What does your son do?
My son fucks women for a living.
and
my son's a badass for it.
And I make a percentage of it.
He does what your sons wish they could do. And I make a percentage.
Oh, I don't know. Dream job?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
What does your son do? Oh, still working as a fry cook. Okay.
My son knows all about rim jobs. He's a basketball player. Some dainty. I see like a dainty like a black woman, you know, like my son's dignified. He's got, he knows all about
all right, we gotta bring him back. Okay, we gotta bring him back. We gotta get back to what we were originally do on this.
Whatever, man, we're having fun.
This show, but yeah, so we're good today on Spoiler Alerts. So for those of you who've never seen the show, what we do is we just dive into, you know, whether it's a movie or a TV show or a comic or a novel. And this week we chose a movie, and we let folks know last week. It's Kubo and the Two Strings, which actually came out in theaters this past week, I think Thursday or Friday. So this was the debut weekend. And so we all, you know, got in line. There wasn't much of a line for me whenever I went in. Was it crazy packed for you guys?
Dude, it bombed at the box office.
Yeah, it bombed
like
pretty
no
hard.
reason. It was going up against Ben-Hur, which no one fucking cared about at all.
Right?
And I don't know. It's like,
Suicide
I love
Squad
the movie, and I did not understand why people didn't want to go see this in droves, because it's like so pretty and so charming and witty and cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those weird fucking things. It's just like wrong weekend, I guess. Should have done it this weekend or something.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen Kubo and the Two Strings and you're really interested in seeing it and you don't want spoilers, this is not the place you need to be.
Yes.
We're going to have an open discussion about it.
Mute.
And then at the end of the show, we're going to reveal the next thing for actually 2 weeks from today. We're not going to have a show next week because of PAX West.
Yep.
But the week after that, so 2 weeks from today, we will be talking about whatever we reveal at the end of the show. It's basically like kind of like a book club. Mm-hmm. So think of it like a book club. We give you guys some homework, you go watch it, and the next week you come back and we talk about it openly. So Kubo and the Two Strings. Yeah, it did fail at the box office. I think maybe there's like a small amount of controversy. I always have a hard time saying that.
Controversy
surrounding that particular movie that I'll get into later, because you guys
I have
don't
no
know
idea what
it.
you're talking about.
Yeah, no idea what it is. Okay, well, I'll tell you guys later. So let's talk about the movie itself right now. ChanManV.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie? Like, let's just say 1 out of 10. Just start us there.
Oh, 1 out of 10. Okay. 1 out of 10. I would say about an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah. And I was really excited going into it. So very excited, I have to say. Like I was like a lot more excited than I have been in a while to see a movie. So when I was talking to my son, and we went as a family actually to go watch it. So yeah, I was like trying to convince my wife wasn't that interested in it, but I'm like, it's gonna be so good. You should come with us, because I normally just take the kids to movies like this, but I kind of wanted it to be a full family event, and it ended up being it. But yeah, I think overall,
and it was a good choice, and that's a good choice because it's very much about family, especially between children and parents, kind of thing. Diction, what did you think?
I loved it. I thought it was delightful.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Out of 10, probably same 8.5, 9-ish.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's good.
That's
9.
Good for me. I was thinking 9 is where I was falling, and I wasn't excited to go into it and watch it because you guys had kind of come up with it last week. I didn't know anything about it. I took 2 seconds and saw Regina Spektor did some music for it.
Oh yeah, just love Regina.
I didn't even finish. I didn't even realize it was "As My Guitar Gently Weeps." I think it's John Lennon, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it was I didn't even listen to the song. I just saw her and I was like, okay, I'll go watch it. Like it seems.
Yeah.
So I didn't go in very hyped at all, and I went and saw it last night when it only had like 2 people in the theater.
Yeah, they're like
Oh
3
my
people
god! Yeah, during
watching
the
with me.
weekend. Yeah, weekday. So when I
Yeah.
went, there were a lot of kids and parents, but I felt like that crowd that was there were more folks that would typically watch like a Disney film, you know, like that type of style, and not as much of an artistic.
Leica
animated
Studios
one.
does very different types of animation movies. Like I feel like Paranorman was probably their only like really traditional animated feature, you know, that like felt like kind of like a Pixar movie. But like, you know, like Coraline is like this creepy Neil
What about the
Gaiman
Box Trolls or something like
Box
that?
Trolls.
Box Trolls too. That
very,
was
very
odd,
like
yeah.
like from left field, you know, that kind of thing. So they're maybe that's why people weren't too excited, because like when they go in to see Leica films, they're going in expecting a Pixar experience, and they get something a little bit deeper and weirder, you know.
Right.
Sometimes kind of scary. They put a lot of scary imagery in their movies,
Yeah.
which, you know, would bug me as a child, but I'm an adult and I can handle it.
I didn't. I sat with
I'm
my
like,
hands
I
over
go in
my-
there like a fuck me up.
Like a fuck me up.
It's interesting because I wasn't really that thrilled to go see. I'm not really, I mean, obviously I'm a 30-year-old man. I'm not really into kids movies. I can always find something enjoyable about most kid movies because they know that parents have to take their kids to go see it. And so they throw in some, you know, head nods, you know, towards us, like, you know, like in Shrek when they're talking about his size of his castle. It's like, oh, is he compensating? We're all like, he's got a small penis.
Right.
Kids are like, I don't get it. I'm laughing. You know,
What
like,
is that word? What is that word?
I don't get what this reference. So like, I can always enjoy it, but I'll tell you what, man, that movie got me thinking. That movie got Kubo got me thinking quite a bit, and it was a lot deeper than I anticipated it to be. And there were things I liked about it and things I didn't. But overall, I think it was a fantastic movie, and I'm very, very sad that that it didn't do better in the box office. I really am, because I think it's got a really good message, and I think it tackles some very difficult subjects, especially for kids. Subjects involving, you know, your parents dying, you know,
loss and grief.
Alienation, you know, like feeling, you know, kind of alone and away from things, not understanding your place in the world. Sorry, I'm a little sick. So I don't know. I've always been scared of death. That's one thing that's always bothered me. Even when I was a little kid, I can remember thinking to myself, and I might freak some people watching this or listening to this when I say, like, I am going to die one day. Like one day I'm going to die. There's no way to stop it unless in the future they come with some crazy pill that saves us, whatever. But for the most part, we're going to have to deal with death. And I've never liked that. I've never been comfortable with that. It's always freaked me out. If I start thinking about it too much, it freaks me out. And this movie actually, and I'm not ashamed to say it, really helped me with that. And it's kind of weird that I found kind of a sort of serenity, I guess, with death watching this movie, because I don't feel like it was pointed towards me, but I still felt that. Like, I love their philosophy about, you know, death, how, you know, our story is the end of our stories, but our stories continue on, and you know, our children are the people that love us. And I think it just handled it in a much different way, in a very positive way, where usually death is, you're always convoluted with grief and loss and all that stuff. I think this pointed to a few things, like some positive things of it, that it's not this terrible thing, that it can be an okay thing, and you can be okay with losing people and still remember them and have their memories with you. And I think that was an important message, and I think that they did it really well. But that was kind of just my first impressions of the movie itself. I think it's really good, especially if you've got kids that are asking about death, or you've had a family member pass away, like my grandma passed away last year. I think it's something that can really kind of bridge that gap and open up some conversations between you and your kid. Now, I don't know, Jeannie's not old enough to have those conversations yet, but I think when she will, I think I'll go back to this movie. Yeah, and I think I'll have her watch it.
That's a good idea. I mean, just like, and then obviously try to coax out of her if she understood the overall message. Because
of course,
it's a little subtle. Like, I got it. Obviously, I'm an adult, but I can't see certain kids really grasping it as much. I mean, they make it pretty. They like the movie gets more exposition-y as it goes on. Like I love the way it started with like there's like no
awesome.
actual dialogue
Yeah.
for like 5 minutes. There's just a little bit of narration, and then they introduce the characters with no dialogue, just actions and visuals, that's good storytelling. That's good cinema. And then like gradually they start talking more and more, having conversations and stuff. But yeah, like I liked going back to the death. I liked in the end there was a lot of, because like you don't really understand what Kubo is or why he's the way he is for like most of the movie. You don't know, you know as much as he does. And then when it's revealed to him that he's actually like the product of magical immortal beings and a human, and his grandfather like basically lives in the heavens and the moon and stuff, and he's immortal, he rejects immortality in favor of living a full life on Earth, you know, and like and keeping his memories and not having to. I don't know. It was really heavy. It was heavy shit. It's like, dude, you could have been immortal, but you're like, nah, I want to stay here down on Earth and be cool and like, you know, have a life and play my music with my little my origami and stuff. You know, like that's what happiness is to me. You know, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of all the things that you guys have been saying. My favorite part is definitely the first half, though. I felt like it's like kind of typical movie fashion, where the second half I felt like was a little bit rushed, you know, like it's just
they did start to ramp it up.
Yeah, and I mean, this is very typical of a lot of movies I love. It just doesn't finish properly in my mind. But the way it started with just like, you know, obviously like a lot of action with her, you know, obviously running away. And, you know, even just that huge magic moment where she like splits the ocean, right? That I think setting that tone right from the start is really, really cool and captures the audience. But then, like, you know, it goes straight into where, you know, his mom's catatonic essentially, or is in this weird mental state. And Kubo has to be basically an adult. I mean, he is literally supporting the family because he's making money to feed, you know, like buy whatever food they eat. They live in a freaking cave, for Christ's sake.
Outside of the village, too. Right?
Yeah, outside the village.
And he can't go out at night.
Yeah, so he has these restrictions, yet he's still assuming all these responsibilities of the family, and he's okay with it. You know what I mean? Like he's like that devoted child, you know, that needs to take care of his parents, and he's only, I don't know how old Kubo actually is.
He's 11.
He's 11, right? Okay, so
they mentioned, one of the sisters mentions 11 years ago.
That's right, 11 years ago.
I lost my sister.
Yeah. So I mean, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the village part too. You know, just like
that was awesome.
Yeah,
and I saw it in 3D, and that part was so good in 3D with the origami spinning around. And
see, I didn't see it in 3D, concept. And I regret.
It was really.
I regret it. I loved, again. I right there with you, Chairman. I love the beginning. The beginning like hit me, man. I was like, damn, this is really cool.
Yeah.
I like its approach to art in itself. It's like the movie itself is art, but then the art in the culture that they're in is like it's whimsical and it's mixed with magic, and you know, as he's playing the lute or you know whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's you know creating these origami creatures that are coming to life and doing these you know crazy abstract things, and it's interesting because I've never seen anything like that. You know, like we play a lot of video games, right? And you see like bards, and the bards will give us you know extra boost ability, whatever you know. But you don't really see music. It takes a special kind of movie to like add music into art and to make it a thing and it not seem forced or it not be the entirety of the movie. You know, and it was really cool to see that kind of just on the side. I thought it was really, really fantastic animation. It was insane. What do you guys think of the animation in general?
I mean, their animation is just exceptional. They do a blend of stop go animation, like claymation stuff, and CG. And it's really hard. It's kind of hard to tell where one begins and where one ends. And that's kind of like the magic of the Leica studio is they found that cool balance. So I thought it was gorgeous, and it was really like I never felt like taken out of the experience for 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was fantastic too. The only part I would say, like if I were to point something out that just it kept like jumping out at me from time to time is a little bit of the texturing of the characters like bothered me, like because it was like really grainy, and it just made me think that this, I know this isn't low, like a lower resolution or anything like that, but there were times where I kind of felt like that, where the backdrop and just like all the origami stuff and things were like just absolutely fantastic. It even looked like artwork. I mean, just like paintings and things at certain points too. Yeah, the characters themselves just kind of bothered. Even like Hanzo, particularly, like his face really bothered me, just the way that it looked. It was almost like penciled in, like his eyes and his beard. And
A little bit, yeah.
It reminded me of Ants. It reminded me of Ants.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Ants?
I mean, well, he is a beetle, so
It reminds. Well, I mean,
get
Ants is like really defined. I mean, they're really shiny and defined, and the colors are vibrant though, like on Ants, right?
I don't know. I just felt like his face was like, it's almost like that stretched out, like that taut look, where it's like their face doesn't have any. Yeah, here's a decent picture. It's like his face doesn't have many dimensions. His face is just like, it's just like taut and like pulled. I don't know. I feel like there's no like room for wrinkling there. Like it's just
For
like,
wrinkling.
room
like
for wrinkling.
plastered on to his face. Like, and I think that's one thing. If I have to critique the animation at all, which I think overall is gorgeous.
Yeah.
There's sometimes in the facial features I think look a little bit strange because I don't think that they have facial movements down quite 100% yet. So I think it shows, especially in the old lady in the village. I think that her face occasionally
that's true.
It didn't necessarily look like she had wrinkles. It just looked like she had kind of like a lumpy face. Like when her mouth moved, her face didn't contort in the way that like when you smile, your eyes crinkle and the sides and stuff like that. It's like those crinkles were already there and they stayed there, and her mouth moved and her face stayed the same. And it looked kind of weird to me. And also I felt like sometimes the animation and like sometimes I would look at the animation of something real, not origami, and I would think it looks a little origami. Does that make sense? Like sometimes the edging looked a little like papery. Like especially when they did close-ups of his face, like when they did his eye, especially there's a close-up of his eye and it's just a slit, right here because his eyes are closed.
Yeah.
And then he opens it and it just looks like, I don't know, it looks like a paper eye to me. It looked kind of weird up close like that. But overall, I think the animation's incredible. But like I said, if I had to critique it, I just feel like their facial expressions didn't get too crazy beyond the mouth. Like the mouth, I feel like they have down the movements and all that stuff. Just like the face in general does more when you're talking than just your mouth moving. So
yeah. But when they were doing things like the boat, and just basically all the leaves kind of coming together and all the origami scenes too. It looked fantastic. I mean, really, really great.
Oh, yeah.
And
again, I'm critiquing what is like probably some of the most gorgeous animation I've ever seen. Like it's hard to critique, but it doesn't make it beyond reproach. So that was what bothered me personally too. So other than that, it was just really, really stunning. The imagery especially was really good. I agree with you, Diction. I think that it was scary. I think that for kids, that's some scary imagery. Like they didn't
the eyeballs underwater, man.
Oh, the eyeballs.
The eyeballs underwater and the sisters and the way that dark smoke just destroys the town. Like that dark smoke just annihilates that town. Like there's no. I mean, that you find out they're like alive later because it's a kids movie, but I feel like if this was the real tale, like the village was destroyed. Like the villagers are gone. That old, crinkly faced lady with the crazy mouth, she's dead. Like, I don't know. I thought that it did get deeper, and I think it did take more risks artistically than your regular Pixar movie. And I appreciated that. And I enjoyed that as an adult. As a kid, I'm not sure I would. But as an adult, I liked the vibrant colors. I liked the darkness. I liked the emphasis on both, and when these things were going to happen, you could tell when something bad was going to happen because it would the whole mood would change. It wasn't just like somebody got stabbed or whatever. It's like the sky darkens, like everything changes. It's the mood entirely. So I thought the imagery was really powerful.
It was like anytime it got dark, instantly they knew where he was. that was amazing. But I guess that's what happens when you're the Moon King or whatnot. But the sisters, they were so Was it me or did you guys think that The sister just resembled the anonymous mask, like the V for Vendetta, just the mask.
Yeah,
right?
I leaned over.
I was just
I
like,
leaned over to Cora.
This is It's like
I
no
leaned over to
mustache
Cora
or
and
anything.
I whispered in her ear. I go, V for vagina.
V for vagina. Yeah, but that was my first thought when I saw them, and then I thought that their faces were just that. I was like, man, how did his mom end up not looking like that? But then I realized later, obviously, when they were fighting, that it was just purely a mask, and
They never did show their faces, did they?
Well, they showed like just
Barely.
a broken mask.
They show the
right?
bottom, and I
The
liked
bottom
that.
half.
I
Yeah.
love that she's like smiling most of the time. You know, like she's always got like a little, quirky side smile or something underneath the mask. I was like, damn, that's even like darker almost. Like she's enjoying this. She's,
You know what I just found out?
Mhm.
The voice actor for Kubo is Rickon Stark.
Yeah, Rickon
played
Stark.
Rickon-
You
I
didn't
did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
Let's talk about the voice acting.
Yeah,
for
there's a
second.
lot of people in this
Yeah.
film. There are
Okay,
a ton
so-
of people.
Let me ask you guys just straight up. Did you guys know the voice of the Beetle as soon as you heard it?
Yes, I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
going
Well, I
into
already
it.
knew
I knew
that.
who it was. I knew who it was.
I already knew
going
it was
in.
Matthew McConaughey. I
Yeah.
already knew that.
Damn it. Oh, you knew that already?
Yeah, I knew most of
I-
the voice casts. Already.
Okay,
I knew-
maybe nobody will share this sentiment with me in the chat, but I didn't know it was Matthew McConaughey, and I could not figure it out, and it was driving me crazy. Because like
It's 'cause he had
occasionally,
the accent. He didn't have his Texas accent. He like dropped it and went like straight.
occasionally though, he sounded a little Stephen Colbert.
Really?
Little bit. Yeah, and even a little George Clooney. That's what I was thinking when I was listening to it. I'm like, it's not Stephen Colbert. And it's not George Clooney, but it's almost like there were hints of it, especially at the beginning when they first meet him. He's got like a Zap Brannigan kind of
Right.
feel to him. Like
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
an aloof
Brannigan.
buffoon with straight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
honor
totally.
and shit,
Yeah, and he's kind of
Yeah, he's like-
airhead too, kind of thing. Or
He's got that like I'm Zach Brannigan.
Yeah, I'm Zach
I'm the roach guy. I was a warrior. That kind of thing. It almost had like a Stephen Colbert thing. If anybody else thought it was Stephen Colbert, please come to my rescue because I didn't know going in. And I felt so silly finding out it was Matthew McConaughey, and I felt so dumb. But I feel like it was there, man. Like I heard it.
Well, that just means he did a good job, right? If you didn't
Yeah.
recognize him right off the bat. Yeah,
I
mean,
think that he was the
overall-
worst though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think he was the
He's the
worst
worst.
voice actor out of all of them. Not that he did a terrible job.
He
I
just
felt
had
like his
he
voice
had
was
the
very
worst
plain.
lines. Like his line, he
Yeah,
was like
he was
Mr.
giving-
exposition. Like he just like said what straight was on his mind and stuff like that. But then again, his built as a character who has no memory of who he is, and he's just kind of stupid. Like
Yeah, he's the comedic, angle to this whole film, right? Like basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other
I don't know.
funny characers.
No.
except for little Hanzo.
Yeah.
Everything he did, every time he would point his sword at something, I would fucking giggle, dude. Every goddamn time. I thought he was just precious.
Precious little origami.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't know. I felt like I get it. He was the comic relief,
Mhm.
and they kind of talk about that in the movie when the old lady's talking to Kubo, and she says, "Why don't you throw a chicken in there
Yeah.
just for you got to have a little comedy with everything for you to appreciate the comedy. You got to have
Yeah.
dash or appreciate the seriousness. You have to have a dash of comedy, which I tend to agree with in most things. And I felt like I was laughing my ass off at half of what he said, and then I was cringing at the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah, same
Exactly.
here.
Well,
Like some things he said was just fucking hilarious, and I was like, "That's a really good line." He threw that out there, and then sometimes he would it was almost like he just read it from the paper. Like it was weird. Like he had a calmness to his voice, like he had no delivery, and I thought, and the line was shitty to begin with. Like I don't know if it was his fault or not, but some of those jokes were just like, I think they were kind of groany even for like a kid.
that's
like,
true.
like, like how
To
many
be
times do
fair,
we have to hear it? Like
it
it
is
was a
his
very
first-
like lock and load kind of things.
Yeah.
Let's-
It is his first animated movie he's ever done.
okay.
Well-
He deliberately chose this as his first because he was like, well, I got kids now, and I wanted to do a kids movie that spoke to me. And since this, like we already talked about the message, the overall message of the movie, it's like, okay, that makes sense. But like, voice acting and acting are very different things. I'm not like trying to excuse it. Like I agree. Like
Yeah.
some of those lines just should have been doctored. They should have had someone come in there and make them funnier.
Well, I mean,
But,
I just think overall the character, the Hanzo character was, they used his character as a way of making it more kid friendly, because because of all these weird, funny scenes or funny lines and just awkwardness, you just even on how it's delivered. Whenever I find out that it's his dad at the end, it just doesn't have that same impact, as just say he was more of a, like I don't know, more of like an Obi-Wan protector, somebody that was more, like that isn't his dad, and he's some kind of transformed element, but he is acting as a protective figure. Kind of like the monkey was before you knew it was his mom, kind of thing. Then it would have had more impact later when it's just like, oh, it's his dad. Because it didn't even dawn on me that it would be his dad until literally.
You didn't?
No, it's just like, I didn't even really think of it much as like his dad until like literally they said it. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense now. But I just didn't have that feeling because again, he was more the slapstick part of it, just the comedic part. And you would think his father, who's like a great warrior, I don't know, just would have been a little bit less, of that type of character. So, yeah, I don't know. That's my biggest comment just about Hanzo and how they did it. Like, if they would have just, like, not made it kid-friendly, I think it could have been even better. But, they obviously wanted it to be, a mixture of, like, this kind of adult and very stylistic type of film as well as something that just, like, 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds can go and watch, too.
I thought him being the dad was fairly predictable. I thought that was super predictable.
I mean, after they said it, then I was like, okay, yeah, I guess that
well,
makes
like,
sense,
even,
but...
like, I knew that his dad was going to pop up at some point when he went to go pray for his dad. And that was another scene that was kind of weird for me. At the very beginning, when he goes to the cemetery to pray, and he almost looks like he's not satisfied with the response from his dad, or like the spirit of his dad, but it looked like the other kid was. That was kind of weird. Like, she's like, I see it, or something like that. She said something to the lines like that maybe this child had made some kind of connection with this spirit, and that, okay, that has happened. Now we can put our thing in the water.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird, and he had seemed like he wasn't getting that kind of connection with it.
Right.
He seemed awkward and like it wasn't responding or whatever. But you don't ever really see the spirits respond.
No, you do. They light up.
Yeah, they light up. The lantern lights up. Yeah.
The
And
light-
they put it in the
see,
water.
I missed that.
Yeah,
I missed that
yeah.
it actually lit up. Okay, see, I guess I was looking for something else. Okay, so I'm oblivious about that. But I just remember, I didn't know that it didn't light up. I just knew that I could sense he didn't feel like he was getting something in return.
Yeah.
So
No,
when
they light up and then they take it to the water and they put it in the river.
Yeah, it made me. I thought that they had just lit it. It made me think that he wasn't dead immediately. I'm like, oh well, you're praying to nobody. Your dad's not dead. Like that's why you're not getting any response from the spirit. Whereas because your dad's not dead. So that I had in mind. And then as soon as I saw the beetle guy, who is a warrior but he has no memory, he doesn't know, I'm like, okay, that's his dad. And then as soon as I started to see the kind of dynamic that he had with the monkey, it made me go, okay, this is what's happening. Especially, it was made really clear on the beach scene when they're like, okay, Kubo, you go sit over there. Mommy and Daddy have to have a discussion about what's going on.
I guess that makes sense. I didn't catch that.
And I think I called out the monkey as soon as I saw that they, like a close-up of the monkey's face and I saw the scar. And I'm like, this is probably just a reanimation of his mother. Like,
it was the same voice too, right? I mean, they were both Charlize, right?
No.
I'm not sure about that. That was something
it sounded
she's
like
only
her.
credited as the.
Oh yeah, she only credited. She sounded kind of like the mom too. That's kind of why I was like, oh yeah, I think she's the mom, right?
Yeah, I did. It took me longer to figure out the mom than it did the dad. But
okay.
When I found when I saw the scar on the face is what kind of gave it away, because she had that same kind of scar. I was like, that's a weird scar just to give this monkey who didn't previously have a scar on the totem thing. But yeah, the voice acting, I asked that too. I was like, well, if this is the monkey, is that the same voice actor or actress? And I couldn't answer that. And I don't know. Do we know? Dictionary, are you looking it up? You have your looking it up face on. So
I don't. What was the mother's name?
See, that's another thing. I can't remember the mom's name either.
I'm seeing
I like how they kept things pretty simple. It's like monkey,
mom,
and Kubo. It's like
if she has the name in the movie. They didn't. I don't remember them mentioning it because it doesn't say mother here. It says Rooney Mara was the sisters.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then
I don't know. Either way, I thought that was fairly predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Especially,
I knew as soon as he grabbed her hair that was what the two strings were. I just didn't know what the second string was going to be.
It took me a while.
As he grabbed her hair, I was like, I know that he's going to fucking pluck his guitar and then have to restring it, and one of the strings will be her hair. But I didn't know what the last one would be, the second string.
Yeah, see, I didn't see that coming. I should have, I guess, but I missed that entirely. When he started stringing, I was like, oh yeah, here we go. You know, like, all right, I see where these things coming in. I see what's happening here. I'm putting it together.
Dude, for a while, I'll be first to admit, for a while I was like, why is it called the 2 strings when there's 3 strings on his lute?
3 strings to the stupid guitar. This movie doesn't even know what it is.
They know how to count. But did his, now again, I wasn't following, I guess I was so tied up in the animation I wasn't looking at some of the details.
Yeah.
Was he losing strings on that lute whenever he used it at a certain point?
When he'd use the magic.
In the last fight, in the second to last fight, he does like one big strum, fades to white, then it comes back, he has one left, and he uses that last string to fly himself back home.
Right. Okay.
So then he only has 1 string or no strings left, and he has to restring it.
Gotcha. And I liked that. I liked that they killed the parents. There was no like coming back. That's one thing I like about this, is a message about death, is that it's finite and there's no secret ending where they're actually alive, or the beetle guy wakes up, or so like they're dead. And the beetle guy he doesn't realize who he is for very long before he dies. I mean, he's like, I'm Hanzo. Oh shit, I am Hanzo. Oh my god, I love you. All right, we're both dead. And and it gives an uneasiness to the mother's character, because the mother character takes solace in the fact that she's going to be leaving her son with her father, with his father. And that was kind of what made her comforted. And then he dies. And it's like it's one of those things, I like in movies where it's not predictable and it has something to say. And what it said to me was that you can't plan death. You don't plan fate. You don't plan these things. It might make you feel better and it might work out that way, but maybe it won't. And if it doesn't, it's still okay. Yeah. Just because things don't fall into the path that we necessarily structured for ourselves in our mind doesn't mean that we need to break down as individuals. And I liked that. I thought that we were going to come back from that bright light and see like, oh, the parents had resurrected, or the kid was still fighting, or somebody was like, no, man, sorry. It doesn't even really explain what happens to the sister. I guess she gets blown up in the explosion, or maybe he even killed them all. Like maybe he even killed all 3 of them in his attempt to save his parents. That was one big blast from his loot. He's kind of untrained. I don't know. It leaves your mind kind of to wonder what exactly happened there, but it was pretty clear he lost both his parents. And I like that. I know I'm more of a grim. You guys are going to see this more and more. I like the grim and gritty shit, but like to see a kid's movie where both parents die, especially one that just realized and one that's being comforted that this guy just is alive and then he's dead. I don't know. Gave me this realistic sense that it's like, shit happens like that sometimes.
Yeah. And
sorry, I ran on a while there. My bad.
So what do you think happened to the Moon King at the end? I mean, he's immortal, right?
He was turned mortal
just for that moment, I guess.
Basically, what happened to Hanzo happened to him, except instead of being cursed into a beetle, he's cursed into being human from being an immortal.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And the same thing happens to him. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know how he got there and stuff. And I like that part where everyone just like lied to his fucking face. Like, I love that.
You're a great person, right? Yeah, exactly.
They knew what he was capable of. They knew who he was. They saw him as this fucking giant demon. And then so they just like were like, okay, how do we handle this? You're the nicest guy I've ever fucking met, man. Like, oh yeah, I know you're so kind. You get money all the time. He's like, oh, I am. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. It's just like,
and that definitely leads.
It sends a weird message to kids. Like, lying is okay as long as you're lying. It's a lie that makes someone a better person.
Oh god. Oh man.
If you ever meet someone who's been in a coma that like used to be a dick, like, and they come out of it and you're like, oh man, you don't remember? Like, you used to. Dude, you worked for all these charities and food drives.
You help all these poor people and homeless people.
It's so fucked up.
Is that like the opposite of ruining someone's life? Is
it reprogramming them?
It's reprogramming.
It reminds me of like Rick and Morty, like a Rick and Morty episode where somebody comes, is created. And they're like, where am I? It's like, oh, you've been this your whole life. It's cool. It has like its own implications though too. I think at the end we're supposed to feel like, oh, it's good because the bad guy's defeated and now he's a good guy and whatever. But like,
I mean, what if it sets up a sequel?
Yeah, maybe it sets up a sequel, or
maybe it will, but
go ahead.
I'd be fine with this just being a standalone movie, like tale. Like,
Oh yeah, I think I'd like it better.
Fan of sequelizing everything, you know.
Guys, it's not.
But like, I just love the world they built. You know, I love the epic poem that they told. It felt like, you know, like Beowulf or like just like a Japanese like pure journey of a hero's journey. It felt like D&D. Like it felt like a Dungeons and Dragons type campaign where it's like, okay, we have to get these 3 things.
Yeah.
And there's all these challenges that get in the way.
Right.
And we've got a group of people and we're unlikely heroes. You know, it's just like, it was, I don't know. It just really spoke to me as like someone who loves a good adventure. It was like a really good adventure.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about the overlying theme of the whole movie, which was, you know, the storytelling, right? Like whenever he's in the village and he's talking about, you know, and he's doing the origami thing, the whole thing is that he's just telling stories all day long, or just one giant tale. And the whole thing was he never ends, right? Yeah, he's just so terrible at ending it, right? And that's how the movie kind of plays it. Or he doesn't know the ending.
He's trying to get his mom to tell him, but she can't remember because her magic is fading. And
that's kind of how the movie plays out, right? Like we actually get to see, you know, the ending of what his, you know, life's tale is, or at least his parents' tale is, you know, with them culminating with that. And I think that leads back to his grandfather too. It's back to like what you said, Ellohime, with the whole death thing. In a way, he died, right? And he's coming back, but instead of being in a different form, like we saw with maybe some of the, you know, just his parents, you know, he's coming back as the same, I guess, you know, at least an image of of the same guy, but this time he's mortal and getting to start over. So, I was taking it that way. I wasn't taking it as maybe later on he gets a flashback and becomes this, like, you know, bad dude again, possibly.
Well, I mean, why would that be so outlandish? Why would that be outlandish? It happened to Hanzo. Hanzo was recreated in very much the same way, and then told, you know, not told anything, but he knew that he liked swords and he liked all this warrior stuff, so he put it together. He must have been a warrior. Wouldn't the, you know, immortal being that's been turned into human sort of have the same feeling about things, you know? Maybe not, because he's a god, who knows? But I wouldn't fucking tamper with it, that's for sure. And I don't know what kind of, I like it on an adult level because I'm like, that's really practical, and I probably would have done the same thing in that situation, being faced with a mortal god that wanted to destroy everything, and now he's a human. I would probably lie to him too. But for like a kids movie, I'm not sure if that sent the right message.
Well,
to
how about,
the kids. I don't know, I like it kind of for different reasons in both ways, I guess you could say.
How about the fact that he needs to gouge Kubo's eyes out before he'll take him in as his grandson?
That's pretty dark, right?
That's pretty dark. That's definitely dark. We're going after your eye, like, so that's a pretty freaky.
If you're looking at it from the point of an immortal being, you know, like losing an eye is nothing. I mean, he's blind. He sees perfectly fine. You know, like. I guess in his mind, in the world of his immortality and, you know, godlyhood, that, you know, losing an eye as a human, come up and live with us, you'll be immortal, you'll do whatever you want, you know, like all you got to pay is an eye, you know. It's like, that's nothing. But what was the significance of the eye? That's what I was trying to understand, what was the symbolism behind losing an eye, or both eyes, or that you lost one eye. What I saw the symbolism, obviously, when he has one eye and not one eye, is it's kind of teetering. I think that was foreshadowing to his godlyhood in Kubo, because of the union between his mother, who was an immortal, and his father, who was mortal. And so one eye is open, one eye is closed. He's kind of like halfway. That kind of thing. But what is the significance of eyes and needing to lose your eyes in order to ascend to the heavens?
No, he said he explained it. He needed him to be blind to humanity. That's why. That's what made them so different.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay, they did say that.
He needed to blind him from humanity's suffering and their grandiosity and their greed and, you know, everything negative about humans. And Kubo decided to see the other side of things, which is, you know, happiness, love, caring, affection, sympathy, that kind of stuff.
All the great things of humanity.
You know, all that dumb garbage.
Like his mother did, right? In a way.
Exactly. She chose to see the humane part of Hanzo, and not what she was raised to believe about humans, that they're just these, like, essentially cockroaches to these gods, you know, like they're just disgusting parasites that need to be wiped out or ignored completely.
What if you're it's like, I guess in that mindset, it's like, how would you feel if your daughter went to go smash a cockroach and then ended up marrying him, fucking him? It's like what that.
Now you can
more-
see where the
Oh
more we do
gosh.
an in-depth analysis
Okay,
of this,
that's
the more I'm
pretty
starting
freaky.
to feel.
That's
the
pretty
more I'm
freaky.
starting to feel for the for the dad, the
for the
grandfather.
moon god, yeah.
Actually,
From his point of
Daughter
view, this is a
fucked a
really fucked up
cockroach, man.
situation.
well,
Hey, man,
made a
you can
little
come to
stupid
heaven, but
cockroach
first
baby.
you have to give up, rotten food and.
I'm still trying to
all
get
your
over
roach
the.
things.
I'm still
Stop
trying
eating Snickers bars and maybe you can come to heaven.
well, so before we continue, I wanted to let just all the viewers know that we do a portion where you guys can join us in talking about Kubo and the two strings
Yes.
by joining the Discord channel, which I will. I think Monkey Overload's been sending it to everybody, but I'll go ahead and send it again here in the Twitch chat. Join this Discord channel, guys, and talk to Monkey. He'll get you set up just from the standpoint of mics and sound and everything. And then just let him know what you want to ask, and he'll relay it over to me. I'll pull you guys in once we're doing this interaction part, which will be coming up really, really soon. And, if we get some callers, then we'll do it. We've done it like in another, I think one episode we've done it right in the past. And it went really, really well. So hopefully you guys will join us. If not, we'll take questions from Twitch chat like we did last week and answer those.
Also, don't feel obligated to come in with a question.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just come in
come
with a
and talk.
thought process or something you liked or disliked, maybe something we didn't discuss.
Yeah.
Some other, because there's a lot that goes into these movies in time, and every scene is created, especially in animation. Every scene is animated specifically, so there's a lot to discuss. So if you got something to talk about, that's fine.
Who squealed with laughter when George Takei said, "Oh my"?
Did
anyone else
I
catch
definitely
that?
chuckled.
Yeah.
I chuckled for sure.
I did. I can't say. I mean, I love George.
That's like
Takei.
you can't just have George Takei in there and not have him say that line. Like that's not doing him a service, Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
Well, okay, so this is a good opportunity to talk about the controversy, because
So I don't even know what you're talking about.
There's controversy surrounding this movie specifically, and you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but I knew what it was. But let me ask you guys first and foremost, what do you think the controversy is? Just from watching the movie, what do you think people complain about?
Misrepresentation of Japanese culture.
Okay.
Man, I'm trying to think what it is.
If you got nothing,
I got
it's fine.
nothing, man. I really don't.
The controversy is that, and this goes along with what Diction said, that there were too many white voice actors for the Japanese culture and Japanese tale.
Oh, man.
Okay.
All right.
That was.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I sound insensitive, but boo fucking who, dude?
I know. It's like.
I'm looking at the cast list. There are a lot of Asian actors here.
Oh, there's a ton. They're not the main ones. They're not the main ones.
The main ones, because there were only a handful of characters that even really talked. I mean, even George Takei only has like a handful of lines. He's kind of their headlining voice actor. For the
honestly,
culture.
like if someone's crying about whitewashing a fucking animated movie, then they can just go over there and cry and be that kind of shit person. If this was live action, absolutely, I would be like, okay, that's like.
Yeah,
why,
if it was like
why
Last
is Tom Cruise
Airbender or
playing
something
an Asian
like that.
man or some shit like that? That's I don't like that kind of whitewashing. But when it comes to voice acting, you pick the actor that's best for the role. That fits the character, that fits the animated version of whoever they're playing. And I don't know. I just maybe I'm cynical. I just don't see it that way.
So when it comes to voice acting, this may be a little bit of a tangent. Like in a movie like this, I usually do prefer to have voices that are not recognizable. Like actors that I've never heard before, because I do find that distracting sometimes, and especially if I know going into it, and that can be a little bit more distracting. Like Matthew McConaughey, for instance, right? That could have been a different character. I don't know. I mean, he obviously did decently with what he was given, and he was funny too. But that side of things, when it comes to animated films, I generally do prefer just the against the no name actors to do.
I like trying to guess who the voices belong to. Like Charlize Theron has a very distinct voice. Yeah. Honestly, I did not know Rooney Mara played the sisters. I thought it was Meryl Streep. I was like, oh, it's Meryl Streep's voice, like totally
Really?
Meryl
Yeah, it
Streep.
does
And
kind of
then-
sound like Meryl
yeah.
Streep. I know what you
She
mean.
very
sounds a lot
echoey.
like her. Yeah, when
Mhm.
you don't actually see the face, you know,
Yeah.
like it's actually pretty weird.
Yeah, but when it
We
comes
should
to
have them.
I
We
thought
should have them
Steve
sit in
Colbert.
a booth. We should have them both sit in a booth together and voice different characters, and you have to guess which one's Meryl Streep and which one's Rooney Mara. That'll be a fun game. I'm gonna pitch
That
it
would
to
be
them on
cool.
Twitter.
I guess what I'm leading, what I was getting at, Nick, is that do you think that they auditioned a lot of people and it just happened that Charlize Theron
it's a
and Ralph
studio film.
Fiennes
No,
and George
it's a
Takei-
studio film, so they had to have some top billing actors in order to sell tickets. That's just how Hollywood fucking
Okay,
works.
sure.
Whether you like it or not, that's how it works. I've seen a lot of animated movies where the voice cast was literally just they handpicked a bunch of expensive actors to put them on the poster, and they did not fit the role, and they didn't put in a good job. I didn't feel that way, but aside from like our complaints about Matthew McConaughey's like lines, I felt like I love the voice acting. I felt like the voices match the characters and like the attitude. There's a visual attitude with the characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes it never doesn't match the voice acting. I've seen that happen a few times. I didn't feel that way with this movie, so I felt like they picked a good cast.
Okay, so for the role of Kubo, that was picked by random voice sampling. So
Okay.
Was it really?
yeah, so they didn't like go
Wow.
to Rick and Stark and
Okay,
go,
so there you go.
or have the kid that plays him and go, hey, we want you. They listened to a bunch of auditions, just the voices. They didn't put any pictures with them, and they chose him.
That's awesome.
We
Now,
picked
the
you
other
because you
thing
got
that's
screwed on
interesting-
Games of Thrones.
Yeah, you definitely got screwed on Game of Thrones.
Well, you know what's funny is that in their last movie, The Box Trolls, the main character is played by the cripple kid, the cripple Stark. Bran. Yeah.
Yeah. Really? I
So
didn't even know
thought
that.
was like,
I didn't
yeah,
know
no, I
that.
thought that was like that's like their thing is they're picking all the fucking Stark kids to play main characters in their movies.
Arya's
I guess it's
next,
just
man.
random.
Well, okay, so it makes an interesting dilemma for the director, right? Because you only have 3 main speaking parts. Okay, that's really all you have is 3. I mean, if you want to include the sisters, great, but they didn't
They
really
only-
say much.
They show up like
Twice.
like 3 or 4 times, something like that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 times, and so they only have three roles. They already random one of them away. Okay, the main role for the kid, just based on voice sampling. So then
Yeah.
you've got 2 roles. So what I think, and this is not just what I think. This is what they talked about in some articles and stuff. They wanted to have. You have to have those big names there. You have to.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to be asking Joe Schmo No Name onto, whatever live show to talk. Jimmy Fallon's not going to have,
Right, just promo.
yeah, promoing it, but they'll have Matthew McConaughey on there. It opens up opportunities to get the word out about their film. It's almost a necessity, right? And I don't know if that's a good reason or a bad reason to put them in the film, but I think they did an okay job.
I mean, yeah.
I'm with you guys. I think that the whitewashing thing is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that especially in a film like this, that while you may be drawing from certain cultures, that you should have the artistic ability and flexibility to create whatever you want. And if that even means mix and matching things that we're comfortable with or that we've become accustomed to, I think you should be allowed to do that and people not create too much of a stink. So like for instance, hey, the Ghostbusters are all female, and the next coming up, that's a big controversy too. People want their thing to be exactly what it is, or things that come from cultures or myths that come from cultures to have Asian voice actors, to have the right culture. But I don't subscribe to that. I think that makes it nice and pretty and captures it up. I think that as a person who's creating something new, they should have the freedom to do what they want with it. And I think that if you want to have Japanese looking characters with white voices or black voices, and I know that some people find it racist to attribute voices to certain races, but I don't. I think that some races sound similar, that you can hear similarities in speech and pattern. That's cultural, and I think that they should be allowed to do that. And I have no problem with them having Matthew McConaughey as a voice actor, as long as he does a good job and as long as the intent of the film is preserved, its message, and they're not doing it in a way to hurt or bring down another culture or that ethnicity. Like, we're not talking about blackface here. Like, blackface was something that was made specifically to make fun of black people back in the early 1900s. That's not what they were doing here. They're not making fun of Japanese culture or anything. They're honoring
This
it.
is like a far cry from Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell playing an Asian character with an Asian name.
Yes.
That's a controversy. That's something, even though I don't care as much as most other people do about that specific controversy, I acknowledge that it is a controversy. No, that's just people just self-masturbating about their own fucking problems.
Yeah. And they have the same thing in Firefly. Firefly has tons of Asian culture in it, and not one Asian actor or actress.
Well, I think the biggest one that comes to my mind is the whole Last Airbender thing, right? There was a huge
The whole what thing?
The Last Airbender. The Last Airbender.
Oh, see, I didn't even know about that.
I mean, that was
just a fucking pitifully awful film.
Yeah, well,
and it had
but
nothing
still
to do with the whitewashing.
Well, I know, but that's what most people had like issues with, because they casted everybody in that film except for maybe everybody in the Fire Clan were white people. I mean, when there was
Fire
a lot
Clan were all Indian actors.
Yeah, they're all Indian actors because
and they're the bad guys, and it's made by an Indian director.
Right.
Like, that confused the shit out of me. It's like, why are you villainizing your own race, dude? This is really weird.
So that was the
Maybe
big
that's the
example.
race he could.
Why are you even making them one race? Like, why can't they all like be mix and match? Like, they're from a nation. They're not necessarily an entire fucking race. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen the show, so I'm probably talking on my ass. It was just a bad movie.
Yeah,
we should do that sometime. I have so many words to say.
Last Airbender? Oh yeah, we could do that.
About how pitiful
pick a bad
film
movie
is.
and then watch it.
He's still supposed to make another one. It's just it hasn't. I don't know. He just hasn't gotten around to it yet.
Who would watch it?
His next movie
People would
is
watch it, I
about.
promise you
His
people
next
would
movie
watch
is about a dude that kidnaps these girls, and he has like several different personalities. And so these girls are like trapped in his basement, and he keeps coming in different costumes and shit. I'm like, I'm Billy. I'm 12 years old, and then like, I'm an old lady, and then like, it looks
so the
stupid.
Nutty Professor
so
meets
fucking
like
bad.
He's just trying
Kiss
too
the
hard now
Girls.
at this point.
Yeah,
Kiss the Girl
trying
meets the
too
Nutty
hard.
Exactly.
Professor.
It's called
not the Nutty
Steven.
Professor. The Crumps, or what was it? I don't remember. Maybe it was the Nutty. Professor.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
McAvoy.
Yeah,
James
what
McAvoy
was it
plays
called?
like several different characters.
It was the it's
Oh.
the name of the family. It was I can't remember it. Yeah.
I don't remember. It was
We should
Crumps
do-
or something.
I mean, speaking of Night Shyamalan, we should do Unbreakable one of these days.
Yeah, I
That'd
like
be a good
Unbreakable
one.
quite a bit.
Yeah,
I have
love
a
that
very
movie.
specific opinion on why I like that movie and why I think it's not a good movie.
Really? Wow, I love that movie, dude.
I like that movie too. Maybe that would be an interesting one. I want to make one distinction though, real quick, that I didn't in my last comment about flexibility and stuff when it comes to creating things. I'm not talking about like licensed things. I'm not talking about taking somebody's, Superman license and then doing whatever you want with it, putting it out there. There's obviously things that you have to be considerate about when using other people's things. But what I'm talking about is when talking directly about recreating old myths, legends, fables, things like that. I think part of the joy and part of the fun that comes out of creating these is that in itself, it was created. Like it was created out of somebody's head, and it's warped over the years, over and over and over again for different purposes to teach us. That's what storytelling is. Storytelling is a way to entertain and to teach us. And it's the easiest way to entertain and teach us. And so I think that having the flexibility and stuff for doing that when it comes to myths and legends and stuff like that is fine. But yeah, I didn't want to seem like I was like, just do whatever you want, with, whatever's out there. So, yeah, so that's the controversy is that it's whitewashed, at least according to.
I feel like it's so artificial. It's just people wanting to create some kind of controversy, which actually could have been good for the movie, given that it's not getting that much love in terms of the box office.
that it's
kind of
doing
crazy.
so bad.
I mean,
Yeah,
Suicide
it's a great
Squad
movie.
did better
it's
than
a
it.
solid movie.
Suicide
It
Squad
did like
did better
a little
than
bit better than Ben-Hur, which analysts predicted like 3 weeks in that was going to make like no money, and it did. And it was like, how could this movie that's clearly a better film than a remaking Ben-Hur? Who the fuck gives a shit about Ben-Hur anymore? Like, unless it's the Charlton Heston one.
Literally the only thing I know from that film is that a dude died in one of the scenes, and they kept it.
Spoiler alert.
Wait, he died? Like, I actually died?
No, the scene where he gets hit by the horse, he gets
Yeah.
run over by the horses in the chariot race, that really happened.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
not effects. That happened and the guy died.
Oh,
and the family decided,
shit.
yeah. And the family decided to keep that scene in Ben-Hur because he died and that's what he died doing. And they figured, well, you got the shot, you might as well.
God.
That's what he wanted, so.
I mean,
Anyway,
okay.
sorry, we're getting a little sidetracked here,
Okay,
but just a
wow.
little tidbit about Ben-Hur that I thought was just movie. That's what you get here, kids. So, no, but overall, I think Kubo and the Two Strings was an excellent film.
excellent.
Yeah.
And I think it's well worth your time. And I also agree with you guys that I think the controversy is stupid. And I think if you haven't seen it, maybe you don't want to now because we completely dissect it. But
unless you just showed up before, like after we're done spoiling it, and you want to see it,
you should
please
go,
go see
I
it.
would recommend you
Go
go
support
see
this
Yeah,
film.
I would definitely recommend it. Monkey Overlord wants to join us real quick because he has actually a question himself.
Oh, okay.
So why don't we pull him in here?
Get him in.
Monkey, you here?
Monkey, you're on the clock, so you're not going to be paid for this next several minutes that you're on this call. So I just want you to go ahead and clock out and then clock back in afterwards.
Man, you're such a hard worker.
Such hard work. Anyways, welcome to the show, man. You got something to add to our discussion?
Yeah, actually, my thought on the main theme of the movie was actually on memories. There were a few points that really stood out to me where they kept bringing up memories, such as you have Kubo's mother. She's lost her memories. She's suffering from some kind of dementia from hitting her head in the water. You have Kubo's father, who then has his memories taken away from him by the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you have Kubo's grandfather, who comes down as a mortal and doesn't have his memories. And it's stated near the end of the movie that memories are like the most special magic that a human can have. And so I just kind of wanted to discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm surprised we didn't talk or touch on that at all, because that was one of the main themes. I guess I got tied up in the aspect of how that can help cope with death, more than I did with the actual memories themselves. But it's an excellent point. Yeah, that was a big part of the scene, and ultimately what, in the end, kept Kubo from being taken by his grandfather, defeated or killed or whatever he was going to do, was the memory of his mother and father. And yeah, I think that again, I think I was tied up on the death thing, but I think that is a big part of it, is that the memories of these people live on with you forever. And that's why when you die, you should have at least some comfort, because other people are going to have those memories of you as well. And I think it's a really beautiful sentiment, especially about something that's so scary and unknown, which is hard to find positivity with. So yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. It's great. It's great symbolism and theme.
I thought it really kind of connected with the three pieces of armor as well. Like, I don't know exactly what they symbolize, but like with the sword, I kind of thought it was a little like truth. And that as they break off the swords on top of the skeleton's head, it's kind of like when you're trying to figure something out, you fail, and then you finally get that one that just works. And when you think of a sword that's unbreakable, that's going to be your truth. That's going to be what actually happens. What actually can just go through life and help you no matter what.
Yeah,
that's biblical. That's biblical too. The sword of truth. There is like a sort of, there's a whole armor of Christianity. In Christianity, there's a whole thing of the breastplate of righteousness, the sword of truth, the helm of the spirit, something I think like that. I could be wrong about the spirit, but that I wondered if they were throwing, if there was some like head nod to Christianity in there somewhere with that. I thought to myself when I saw that armor as well, because it was really reminiscent of things that I learned growing up, because I was born and raised Southern Baptist. So when they started talking about the breastplate and the helmet and the sword and all that stuff, and how he was going to use these things to protect himself and face evil and stuff, it was very reminiscent of teachings in Christianity. So anyways, no, I thought I didn't really think much about the weapons other than that. I didn't really like your point about them breaking, the swords on the head and everything. I think that's an excellent observation. Yeah. I didn't really think about that myself, but I think you're absolutely right. Especially the fact that it took place on the actual head. You know,
Right? Yeah, I
You
didn't
know,
think about that one.
yeah. I thought that was. You have any other little things? Because I'm learning a lot.
Yeah,
listening to you.
exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
you know, kind of moving on to the breastplate, the image that Kubo has is it goes to the charm of the monkey, which you see the mom kind of goofing off with it. I love that part. It's like, oh, she makes this funny little noise and gets him to do what she wants, and then she turns into the monkey, and it goes to the image of like the monkey as the charm, as the monkey, and then as his mother. I thought of that a lot as heart, because a breastplate impenetrable would be something that protected your heart, and so it's like
Nice.
when you hold true to what you love, you can't, it doesn't hurt you. You can live on and defeat the evils of the world because you always remember what you love.
What do you think about the helmet then?
Home, because you kept showing the image of like the archway as being what makes your face. It's kind of the opening of the helmet,
right.
and then it was the protection at the beginning that kept him from the night, because it was the bell that was rung, and it told Kubo that night was coming, and that he had to head home.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's
It was
true.
the bell.
I didn't even
It was
think
the
about
bell in the
that.
I
It used,
totally forgot.
yeah.
Monkey, you're a genius.
No
You're
kidding,
putting
man.
all these
Holy
things that
crap,
I didn't think
dude.
together.
I
That's
didn't
great.
even catch that too. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah. The only scene that I really think of when I think about the helm was how easily
It was just hanging
God
there.
flicked it off. No,
Yeah.
when he has him in his hand, he's like, "What are you gonna do when I take your helmet?" He just takes one finger and like flicks it off his head.
Point.
Like it's like so nonchalant, like you would expect a god to do. Be like, "Oh, look at your toy things," like
Right.
you know.
And
I
it's
didn't
kind of
really think
mirror,
of this. Awesome.
kind of
Go ahead.
mirrors what he did too, because at the beginning of the movie, he just takes his home away and burns it all down with the scissors.
Man, yeah, it's very true. Man, you're giving me things to think about a little bit. And that opens up another thing. I wonder how, they say that, what do they say about, I think it's your face or your eyes are the path to heaven, or like, are windows into
Gateways
It
into
goes
the
into your
soul.
soul, right? Windows into
Wizard
your
your soul, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to play into it too with the eye thing. There's a lot of
Yeah.
symbolism, but yeah, no, that I didn't even think about the helm being the bell. I mean, I know I remember him running back and like ramming that thing and having it fall. That's great. Any other observations?
No, but just the way I kind of took it, when I kind of stepped back. I love to step back and think of the movie not as like gods and goddesses or anything like that, but what it really could have meant. And I really saw a boy that was struggling with a family with some kind of a genetic disorder, where maybe dementia or Alzheimer's, and he's going to be facing that. So kind of the blind eye is the darkness that's approaching him, but he's found a good twist on it and is telling his stories and makes it symbolic, and says when you remember the things in your life, you can get over death and disease and everything of that sort. So I just love the movie, and that was the main thing that stood out to me.
Huh. That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
job,
That's
Monkey.
I like
excellent,
that.
man.
Yeah, no problem. I do my
Definitely.
best.
Nice deduction.
Nice
Did you say
deduction. Yeah, exactly. And Monkey helps out too with all the calling. So, man, really appreciate you helping out, dude.
Yeah, no problem.
He's
Thank
awesome, guys. Let's see. All right, I think we might have another one, but Monkey's gonna get him ready. But man, yes,
That's got me thinking.
this
That's why
is
I
what
like
we
the
need.
calls.
This is
That's
why we
I like
love
the
having
calls,
you
'cause then
guys.
I'm like, yeah, that's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that was deep.
So that's when he
crazy.
knocks off the helmet. He's like, "What are you gonna do without your home?"
Right,
Because he just
exactly.
destroyed the home.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah, I didn't even catch
What?
any of that.
Mind
So
blown.
that's
But that's why we have these kind of
crazy.
discussions. I'm sure there's people out there that were, some of the things we said, they go, "Oh, I didn't even think about."
Yeah.
That's why I love having these open discussions about this, because these are the kind of discussions that you have with your friends at dinner once you've all seen the movie, or you have with a significant other or friend. These are kind of like the conversations. It's weird, like spoiler culture. Like you have to be, you want to talk about all these things because you want to share this with everybody in this experience, of this movie and what you learn from it, and it's hard because we can't, because we have to make sure that we're sensitive to other people who haven't seen it so that we don't spoil anything. That's one of the things I love about this show. That's one of the reasons that we created this show, is we want to have that open discussion
Yeah.
in a large forum so that we can all get our opinions and kind of reach out, maybe see the movie in a different light. I'd even considered that this might have been a story about a kid living with a family with handicaps or disabilities. That didn't even ring with me, because I don't really deal with that in my life. We all try to associate things mostly with what we are going through. First and foremost, I believe, at least I see in myself and I see in other people. So it's hard sometimes to see it as, hey, this kid's going through this, you know, his mother's got dementia and
Parallel
all these
to
other
real life. Yeah.
yeah, parallel to real life. But maybe that could help some kids that are dealing with that. I didn't even think about it. See, what I took away was the death thing, you know. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's
the sign of a good movie if different people have different takeaways from the story, but can agree whenever they hear someone else's takeaway. You know, like, oh shit, you're right. No, that totally was. That was in the movie.
Interpreted in many different ways. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, if you have any questions, like you want to just tweet, you maybe you're too shy to come on the voice chat with us, you can tweet it at ChanManV, or you can just post something in Twitch chat and we'll read it out. But lots of questions, please, that'd be awesome.
I have a question. What you guys think? This is kind of a small thing that I saw, and I was like, oh, I really like that. What do you guys think about the sister with the pipe? She didn't ever really have a weapon. She just had a pipe.
A pipe that made smoke monsters.
Yeah, the smoke monster was just her smoking a pipe. I like stuff like that, like non-traditional type weaponry, like or what can be considered like magic and stuff, especially in D&D and things like that. I love like trinkets and ways of combat without it being a sword or a shield, that kind of thing. So her coming up with the pipe, I was like, that's a pretty clever weapon or manifestation of a weapon. Like, oh, it's just my pipe, and I blow smoke and can do all these different things.
Yeah.
Did you guys even think about it?
I didn't notice it until the last scene that she's in,
right?
Where she's like clearly smoking the pipe, and the smoke is what's like
attacking
being controlled or what's controlled.
Right.
The movie's against marijuana is what I took away.
The movie's
This is an anti-weed movie, okay? And
Vape Nation, am I right?
The Vape Nation.
You stoners out there should be rising up to fight this.
Oh gosh.
Because we're gonna make an issue out of everything.
Exactly. That's what cover everything in this movie. Oh my gosh.
That's what I felt like. I feel like there was something else I wanted to talk about. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about that we didn't? Like, is there something that like a scene? I know there was for me. There was like a specific scene, and I want to talk about it. Forget it now.
Yeah, like for me, it's hard. It's like I watched it on Saturday, so it's just I wish I could have rewatched it like multiple times.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I'm like trying to remember some things right now, and it's like it's definitely a little harder. 5-6 days removed.
I saw it last night. So
yes,
like,
I mean that's what I mean. Like it's clear in your mind, which is awesome. But actually, I
can't remember anything else that I know that there's something there. I'm gonna kick myself in like 20 minutes. I'm gonna be like, oh crap, we're gonna be done with the show. But anyway, so overall, I thought it was awesome. Do you have any other questions or?
Let me see if we have any other questions on Twitch chat here.
Comments, concerns.
Yeah. Let me see.
While ChanMan's looking that up, I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about the strategy of the show. I realize, especially for this particular film, some critiques that we got back about the film was that, especially since my channel specifically caters to a lot of European viewers and viewers outside the US, that it was difficult for some of you guys to get your hands on this movie because it was released in very specific areas. I want you guys to know that we've heard that, and that we are going to be trying to come up with things that are a little bit more accessible for you guys. And also, whenever we throw out a new show or whatever we're going to do for the next week, try to find you guys a place where you can actually go to see that, and hopefully not spend too much money, because it can get expensive keeping up with us. Just if we got to buy this or rent that, or go see a movie, that's pretty rough. But so we've taken those things into consideration. We're trying to do our best to adhere to you guys' different needs. So sometimes it may work out for you, sometimes it won't. But we have heard that, and we appreciate that feedback, and any other feedback you guys would like to give us, that would be really helpful. And also, just maybe get a little ahead of myself, this is also on iTunes. So if you want to give us some of that feedback, a good place to do that would be to go to our iTunes store, give us a rating, and then give us some feedback about the show. That would be really great.
You can find it on Google Podcasts too. Google Podcasts isn't nearly as big as iTunes is, But if you're an Android user, you can hop on that too and find us there.
So is there any other questions, or can we
I don't think there's one request that I think it's Monkey Saying Navari is asking, is basically maybe each of us give I'd say 30 seconds to a minute of why we should go see the movie. Each of us just take like 36 seconds to why we should see the movie.
Okay.
And because we've reviewed the movie, and I guess this is maybe a culmination or just a summary of what we talked about. I guess I can start off. I'll just start off something with really, really quick. I mean, I think, we all give it high ratings, and I absolutely think that you should go out and see the movie. If you enjoy a very, artistic type of, animated film that's going to be, that's really going to be trying to appeal to just a younger, well, not only just younger audience, but really try to get to a lot of the parallelisms where kids, right? Like if you enjoy storylines that have a lot to do with kids and like the challenges that kids have, and maybe just any kind of parallelism to real life with kids, then you're going to enjoy this film. And I mean, it's a very generalized one. I'm kind of going to let Ellohime kind of dig into like a more detailed version of why to see it, but it does a very, very great job of really just encapsulating like what a lot of young people in today's society actually go through, in terms of challenges, in terms of trying to cope with being an adult at a young age, in my opinion. And they do it in such an artistic way. Like the music, we need to talk about the music too. The music is fantastic.
Oh,
in
it's
the film
gorgeous
too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
visually and like music wise, like definitely one of the best things I've seen this year to date. So if you enjoy that type of artistic feel to a movie, then go see it. And I'll let Ellohime and Eat My Addiction like talk about really just the meat of it.
In my 30 seconds, I echo ChanManV on the art. The art is exquisite. It's unique. It is thoughtful. It's vibrant, and it's just. I feel like even if you don't like the movie, I think that you should just maybe look up a trailer or just take a look at the art, because it's you see it really in its glory in the theater and a big screen, and just how much attention to detail there is. But if you're an art fan, definitely. But again, I'll reiterate what I said earlier. I think if you're dealing with death, I think especially, or a loss in the family, especially if you have children who are trying to wrap their head around it or grieving, I think this is an excellent movie to expose them to, and then have a conversation with them afterwards about it. I think, I think that that's a very specific, kind of thing. I know a lot of you aren't going to have children and have losses in your family, but maybe some of you will. And I think that tackles that very well. So that's my 30 seconds, maybe a little more.
The art style, again, gorgeous. The pacing of the film is also really good. There are a lot of quiet moments compared to other children's animated feature films. A lot of quiet moments where two characters are just sitting there eating or looking at each other or sharing a moment. And I thought those moments spoke really highly of the film's quality, because a lot of animated films for kids are trying to be as loud and fast paced as possible. Whereas this one takes its time. It deliberately will like slow down to let you view these characters and watch them do what they're doing. So that's my 30 seconds.
Yeah. Awesome.
I remember what I was going to talk about.
You had your 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I know, but
You're
that's
cheating.
Go watch the
You're
movie.
cheating.
I just want to throw this out there. This last thing. Just let me, please. It'll kill me if I don't.
Glory hog. No, I'm kidding.
I know. I'm sorry. Listen, we haven't restricted ourselves to ending the show yet. Okay.
Gosh, we're just kidding.
We're still open. Fuck you guys. It's such a difference in the way that kids' movies are today than what I had growing up when dealing. Again, I'm big on this death thing. When dealing with death, because like when I think about like what do you think about when you think about like your first time watching a show that has like death, like, or a movie or like a cartoon, like when you were a kid?
Like when I was a kid, I honestly can't even remember.
Can't remember. Never.
No.
What, Chan?
What movies deal with death? I mean, I have. God, the movie.
Because I think the most famous one is like Bambi, right?
Well,
like I think
you're talking about animated films or just general films?
I'm just saying. I'm saying an animated films.
Okay.
Most.
Animated.
I'm saying like an animated.
Yeah,
like when
Bambi,
you're a kid, you're watching kids stuff. Dealing with death and the subject of death is a very big topic, and it's a confusing topic and it's a scary topic even for kids. And there's different approaches, and I was just going to make a comment about the approach in this movie and the approach of a lot of movies these days as opposed to like the old days. Like the point I was trying to make was that like in the old days, it was kind of just like, this happens, suck it up. Like if you think about like Bambi, like the dad gets shot.
That's the biggest one, yeah.
That's what it was. But that for me personally, I remember Land Before Time. I remember Land Before Time, and within like the first 10 minutes, spoiler alert, the mother's killed by the T-Rex. I mean, it's like it's like the first scene of the movie, basically. She gets killed, and Littlefoot's sitting there, and he's all, if you guys can remember, if you ever watched this film, he was sitting there crying to himself, and he doesn't know what to do with himself, and the Stegosaurus is next to him, is like, what are you crying about? And it's literally, the scene goes like this, like, what are you crying about? My mom died. He's like, ugh, man, that shit happens. like, it's pretty much like the Stegosaurus. I wish we could pull it up. Like the Stegosaurus is basically like, man, shit happens, but you just got to keep your chin up and keep going. Like you just can't give up. You're wasting your time. Like it's so weird. Like how back in like the 80s, you know, and even like early 90s, you know, like 1990, early 90s, like, how it was just like a different approach. I think we have such a more elegant approach to handling children's, you know, like teaching things to children through film than we did back then. Because before it was just like, suck it up, walk it off, and a lot of things. It's actually kind of weird.
Well, the death just happens. You know, there's like nothing after that. Like, I mean, another film that has death involved that for an animated film that I think for kids too is Lion King, right? That was a pretty symbolic death too, but you actually see it I mean, you literally see it, and you see the reactions from, you know, just Scar and really what happens afterwards, and him running away from it. You know, I feel like with this film they transitioned it, like you said, like in the beginning of the show, how they kind of transitioned it, where there's something after that. You know what I mean? Like his mom and dad transitioned into other characters. You know, whether that's reincarnation or if it's just something, you know, completely different, but they did a much better job than it just being so brutal and just, like you said, just deal with it, and it's just nice. It's just artistic, and it's well done.
Yeah, that was the only other thing that I wanted to say about it. I try to get everything out, try to catalog it and keep it here so I can bring it, you know, to the show. Yeah. But that was the other thing. I remember thinking, wow, man, I really wish I would have had this as a kid instead of that fucking Stegosaurus. That just was like, fuck you, like get over your shit. I gotta watch that scene again. If it's anything like I remember it, it's like literally that Stegosaurus was just like, hey man.
I mean, death back in the 80s
happens. Deal with it.
Yeah,
dude, death back in the days. I mean, that's why Bambi was such a big deal, right? Because they just never showed anything like that. Like kid movie themes or just animated movies, the themes were never like that. They were all, you know, like more of a romantic context, and, you know, prince meets princess type of thing, right? So that's why it was such a big deal.
Death usually involved in the villain.
Yeah,
you know, like,
exactly.
Like
at the end, like somebody that deserved it, I guess you could say, and teaching that. So yeah, today's society, obviously, we're actually to the point where we've gone over that point of just like, you know, being even just graphic with a lot of stuff, and to, you know, just with films that even some kids see today, and that's when it gets really, really tough, because like you're not doing anything new now whenever you show it, so you got to actually do something that's somewhere in between, or something that's completely unique or innovative. And I don't know about you, Diction, but like, do you think we're at the point where it's just like recycling, you know, a bunch of artistic themes and writing and stuff? Because, you know, obviously you'll see movies that resembles like this movie, you know, back from 10, 20 years ago.
It's kind of been like that for a long time, but it's a lot stricter in more of a narrow like road for children's films, because they can only really I feel like most of the time they feel like they can only tackle one message, or else it's too much for the kids to handle. So a lot of Pixar's movies, they'll have one theme per movie, you know. So like Up is about grief and dealing with grief and loss.
Yep.
Oh god, the robot one. What's fuck?
Wall-E?
Wall-E.
Yeah.
Wall-E's about loneliness, you know, like and love and loneliness. Ratatouille is about realizing your potential, you know, and like trying to be the best version of yourself and knowing who you are. So it's usually like they have one centralized message, and that's all they can get away with, or else the kids are lost.
Yeah.
But Kubo, like we've already, like obviously we've had several different discussions on several different themes that are all major themes. They're not just like trickled in there, like they're all there, like right from the get-go. So I think this, I mean, even though it's going to be known as a box office, bomb, critically, it's darling. Like it's got like 97% of Rotten Tomatoes. Like I'm willing to bet it's going to get Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
And hopefully the takeaway from this for studios is like, it's worthwhile to explore deeper issues in kids films or even just animated films, and just like letting the creativity really like shine, and not just like, okay, we got to make it poppy and fun. How many pop stars can we get to sing songs for it? Like how many big name actors can we get? And hopefully they steer more away. I mean, it's not going to happen, but it's good to know there's studios out there that are still trying really hard to just like tell a good fucking story and make good fucking movies.
I think that's what they did.
Absolutely.
I think that's what they just told a good fucking story and made a good fucking movie. Like that's all there is to
That's
it,
what studios
as far as
have to
I'm
do.
concerned.
Like they have to balance movies that generate revenue versus artistic, and I think they probably have a like portfolio of movies, or at least their upcoming pipeline of movies for the year, and they're like, okay, well, we got to do these movies right here and generate like $100 to
there's
$1
a
billion
business to
of
it.
revenue, and then but
there's
maybe,
definitely a business.
yeah, and then maybe we can get in these like 10 films here that are indie films and artistic films, and just take the loss there, but at least for credibility reasons, continue getting these out. So yeah, thankfully Focus is one of those. Focus has always been a studio that gets good films out, good artistic films out.
They're pretty solid.
Also, to answer your question, there's like a common saying that comes like when it comes to creating stuff, at least I feel like it's pretty common, is that like anything that you do is already been done by Shakespeare. Like everything
Simpsons did it.
No, like if you think about like
Yeah.
the typical storytelling elements, like man versus nature, man versus man, man versus self, man versus
versus
like when you really get into that Shakespeare tackled all of it, and that there's no original stories anymore. It's just retellings of the same stories.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like and that's kind of,
We've got like the hero's journey by what's his name, Joseph something, which is like the 12 steps of a hero's journey, which most movies or books or comics will follow that guideline, but it's a satisfying thing. Honestly, one of the best things I've ever read about storytelling is Dan Harmon's Story Circle. I'll try to find it right now. It's really good. It's a good read, and he breaks it down. It's a really funny read because it's fucking Dan Harmon, obviously. But his Story Circle is like really, really, really interesting if you're ever like thinking about writing or getting into like making creating stories. It's a really cool guideline. I feel like more movies should follow the guideline because it's about, like, he breaks it down. It's about psychology. It's about satisfying the subconscious of the human mind, which is like, you want a story where you've got a character you identify with. They have this, like, their life starts here, it goes down here, a little bit of a plateau, and then they go right back up, and there's a satisfying end where they get what they want and they change, and there's, and like a new story could possibly start right there. Like, that's like basic psychology of like what good storytelling is that kind of structure. And I feel like even if you use Shakespeare, like, it's just, as long as you have that structure, like, you'll know when it's not there. If you watch a movie that doesn't use the hero's journey or the Story Circle, like, you can feel it. And that's why you walk out of that movie feeling like, I just didn't really get it. And it didn't really speak to me. I didn't like it.
Some of those movies, though, are like the best ones. Like,
some
of those can be, there's this, like, I feel like there's this really, really hidden art where you deviate from that Shakespearean or hero's journey path, right? You do things differently, and it's unique, and or is as unique as it can be, and it's different, but it still plays out, and you still feel satisfied.
Yeah. Well, like, a good example is Upstream Color, which I would love to talk about on the show at some point, but it's from the guy that did Primer. If you've ever seen that like indie time travel film, it's fucking mind bending. It's a second feature, and it's essentially an hour and a half long montage of connected imagery and scenes and like characters. But upon first viewing, you're not going to understand it. You will not. You will not. It's a mind bender. But at the same time, even though it seems completely disjointed and really like obtuse, it still follows that story structure of the hero's journey. Like it still has the steps in it. It's just doing it in a very different way. And I like seeing films like that are just like, okay, so this is a completely different take on something we're so familiar with. We've watched it our entire lives, you know.
Yeah,
But
it's
that's like-
it's I like when people take risks though,
Oh, yeah.
especially when they
Yeah.
take risks in cinematography that is different. I
Yeah,
like that
there's
stuff. So,
definitely
things
more-
can be different, but you're right. It's,
Yeah, well, cinematography. There's a lot of scope, a large scope of which you can work with cinematography, and you know, be unique and artistic, and you know, combining different techniques and elements, right? In terms of that, it's just with what Dixon's saying there with just writing. I think in a way, it's like I agree with you for sure that there's the very established way of storytelling and telling very, very satisfying stories, and the hero's journey is probably exactly that model.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's just kind of like, you know, a lot of people hate that too, right? That there's just this formulaic way of doing
Oh, yeah.
that.
No,
And,
sure.
I mean, we talk
That's
about this in
me.
games too, right? Like in all these games too. I think it's like a big thing for a lot of the games to come out with storylines that like have nothing to do with what's, you know, been there, with a lot of the tropes that have been there. I mean,
Yeah.
the word trope is just like a negative connotation at this point.
Well, I mean, like the
So
key to using the story structure is
Yeah.
by doing it in a way where the audience doesn't know it's happening.
yeah,
And like a lot of
exactly.
movies fail at that. You'll watch
Exactly.
something like, I don't know, like Shanghai Noon. Like that movie just like completely like step by step by step, you know exactly where it's gonna go.
Shanghai
What's
Noon?
gonna happen. Like yeah, something like
yeah,
you
it's
know,
a predictable action.
it's
movie.
super
Yeah,
predictable,
It's
but it's like it
interesting
uses
way to
that structure. But then
Yeah.
there's other movies like even like Kubo. Like I was, you know, I'm very aware of story structure, and I felt like it still did that, but it was doing it in a very like I didn't know where it was gonna go. I didn't know
Yeah.
a lot. I didn't like
It broke the
foresee a
mold.
lot of these things.
It
And
broke
I
the
think the
mold
best
too, a
part was
little
like they did the thing that doesn't happen a lot in kids movies. They withheld information. Like they withheld all this information about the truth of Kubo and who he is. Like you know nothing about him except that he has magic and he lost his eye and,
Mhm.
and like just very little bits of details. And then you don't really understand it until the very end. Like when he confronts his grandfather, you really don't understand exactly why they want him, why they need him. Like, do they want to kill him? What do they want with him?
Right.
So I feel like that withholding of the information made it far more satisfying to watch the adventure unfold because you were right there with him. You're Kubo. You want to know what's going on. You want to know how you can like persevere and save, you know, possibly save your mother, or find your father, whatever, you know, like
yeah.
I thought that was like the strongest aspect.
And it
of it.
wasn't really packaged in the form that it's this giant twist at the end either. You know, which a lot of I think movies and writing or just scripts and things are trying to do just to get that huge moment, right, or where people will talk about. So that's definitely really cool.
I think there's a lot of people who want that Sixth Sense kind of twist ending.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
that's
it
always
became-
very entertaining, but
became
but
too
at the
much.
same time, it's always, you know, it's like Stephen King, right? It's like it's about the journey, it's not about the end, right? So
Yep.
a lot of his stuff is like that. You know, you'll enjoy yourself reading a Stephen King book until the end, and then you'll hate it because he doesn't know how to end
He'll
shit.
do the
But, like,
monster thing.
God,
Yeah, but the
seriously.
thing is that it's about the journey. It's about the adventure. It wasn't about at the end not having a twist ending. You know, it was about this journey with this kid. But I think that's what I was trying. You know, to your point, ChanManV, I think that's what I was trying to say. I think you articulated it better than me, which was that people get bored with the cookie cutter, but the cookie cutter is psychologically more appeasing. So it's like you try to break away from the mold, but still appease the psychology of the viewer, right?
Right.
And that's hard to do when the good guy doesn't win, or you know, like you change these elements up. So I think there's people out
That's
there
why
that do
everyone
that,
like
but-
hated like No Country for Old Men because it didn't have that
Right.
ending.
Right.
But then again, like if they had shoehorned that in, that would have been Cormac McCarthy would have fucking like threw a shit fit.
Yeah.
Like
Of
that's how he
course,
wrote the
of
book,
course.
and that they did adjustments. Like straight up, you have this fucking massive journey, and then it gets to the point where you think there's gonna be this big fucking fight between Anton and the main character, and then he just fucking dies off camera. Like,
Yeah,
that's why I love that movie, because it did, like, I did not expect that, and I'm glad.
Spoiler alert. Well, we didn't give him warning on that one. Anyways, well, can I reveal the?
Yeah, let's talk about next week, guys.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited about this one.
2 weeks.
Drum roll.
Yeah, next 2 weeks. So
it's gonna
we
be...
are not meeting next week. We're meeting in 2 weeks, and we are going to talk about BoJack Horseman.
Oh yeah,
and we have been touching on some serious shit lately. We had Kubo, and then we had like the OJ Simpson thing, and I thought it would be funny to tackle a comedy. So I have really this is the last couple of weeks. Diction and Chan have been coming up with stuff, and so they were like, pick something. And I was like, okay. So I went with BoJack Horseman, and BoJack Horseman can be found exclusively on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, you have it available to you. There's 3 seasons. You've got 2 weeks. So I think that's enough time. They're usually only about 12 episodes a season, and they're 30-minute episodes. So they're not super, super long. It's not like we're asking you to go through like, a super long show. But you have 2 weeks to do it. But basically, this is a show that was created, I guess, like a year or 2 ago. It's got Will Arnett, Allison Brie, who do the voice acting. A couple other people you'll recognize, but it is a comedy show that kind of builds on itself, kind of in an Arrested Development kind of sense. If you're into Arrested Development, but it also kind of tackles, again, with me, you're going to see the theme over and over, the dark and gritty of having like a celebrity life, and about the selfishness of people, and especially in BoJack. So it's kind of him living his life. The premise of the story is basically he was on like a Full House type show. It's called Horsing Around, and this is a world where there's like horse people and like animal people as well as humans. And he's a star, but now he hasn't had anything big out, and he's like a star. He's kind of like Danny Tanner, like he was big back in the 90s, and now he's nowhere, and he's trying to get gigs, and he's trying to do stuff, but he's pretty hopeless. But it's funny. It's very funny. The animation's very sharp. I hope you guys enjoy watching it as much as I have, and hopefully in 2 weeks you guys will come back and we'll have a nice discussion about BoJack Horseman, because it's a ride. And it's not for everybody. I don't think it's going to be for everybody.
It's a ride. I've never seen it, so this is going to be great. Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it for a while.
I've really enjoyed it. It can get pretty deep on some episodes, but it always retains that humor,
Yeah.
And especially if you're watching it, pay attention to the animal. There's, again, like I said, animal people. Like BoJack Horseman is like a horseman, but he is still inclined to maybe neigh, or like he might do horse type things. Like they might see some like horses running in the desert, like all in joggers uniforms or something. Like they throw a lot of animal humor. If you know a lot about animal, I don't want to say
tendencies,
tendencies and traits and stuff like that. You'll see them pop up. Like they have a scene where I'm overdoing this because I'm so excited, but they have a scene where they have like a roast. They're doing a roast, and outside the roast, you see moth people flying around. Okay. So it's like a roast. Like that's the joke is that the moths are drawn to the kind of thing. Right. You'll see a lot of that, and you can even watch. I've watched through this season, the 3 seasons, probably. Well, the first 2 seasons over 5 times each.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's always fun, and you're always catching little things in the animation that make it interesting. So that's why it's got that Arrested Development base. But anyways, I digress. Have fun with it, and hopefully we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Yep. 2 weeks. Same time, same place in 2 weeks, guys. But why don't we wrap up? Let's do some shout-outs. Diction, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/eatmydiction1. I'll be streaming about an hour and a half playing Valley. Sponsored stream.
You're doing Valley too?
Yeah.
Nice. I am as well. I'll excited.
Spoil it for you. I'm going to spoil it.
No, don't do it. You got me real scared there for a second.
I'm kidding. Hello, where can they find you?
Yeah, okay. I thought you were done. I didn't realize you were done.
Well, you will find me here in the next couple of days. I will be streaming, and I will be streaming Valley. But I think I'm going to start with something different. I think I might start with just some Overwatch and just do that for a few hours.
Yeah.
Kind of get back into the saddle, because I've been out of the saddle dealing with house things in real life and shit and friends. And I think it's time to come back and make some good content. And I'm ready to entertain you guys. You know, that's a big thing with me is that I don't get in front of you guys half-assed. I think I'm ready to be back and I'm ready to be entertaining and I'm ready to have some fun. So I think I'm going to jump in. We'll do some like Overwatch or something easy that we know everybody likes to, or most people like to watch and have fun with. And then we're going to switch over to Valley because I'm pretty interested in Valley. And that is a sponsored stream, but it looks
fun.
really, it looks fun as fuck. Looks like a Fallout. It's like Fallout mixed with like
lots of jumping. Lots
Far
of
Cry.
jumping.
Jumping? That's
You
what you're
have
gonna.
like robotic
that's how
legs
you're-
and you jump like super far in the game. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I don't know much
Like-
more about it than that. I just saw
Okay.
like a little trailer and I was like, I'm sold. So we'll be playing that. I believe that should be Saturday morning. Maybe tomorrow morning, but maybe Saturday morning. It all depends on what day we're actually going to get the keys to the house. So keep up with my Twitter and yeah,
House streams, man. House streams, decorating streams, and
I don't want to do
You could
that.
do one
Like,
of
I
those
see
JP
people like
streams.
putting furniture
like
together.
JP when he was
Like I
putting
see
his
like
office
JP with
together.
his ass crack hanging out. He's
Oh,
bent
God.
over something, like putting something together. Like
All right.
I do not. I mean, I know that people would enjoy that. But
Yeah.
fuck that, man. I cannot put myself in front of a camera trying to build anything because I would feel like such an asshole.
All right, well,
Anyways, ChanManV.
I'll round things out by thanking obviously the two of you guys, Nick and Adam, for doing the show with me every week. This week was a lot of fun, and you can find my stream at twitch.tv/ChanManV and YouTube also, youtube.com/ChanManV. All my shows are there, including this one, so you'll find the VOD for this show in I'd say about 30-40 minutes there if you missed any of it, and if you missed any of the previous episodes, you can find them there. And again, like Ellohime said earlier, you can find this show on iTunes and Google Podcasts. Just search for Spoiler Alerts, and we're like the 4th or 5th down because we need more. We need more ratings and reviews. to
5-star
help get
ratings,
that
do it,
5-star
people.
rating, guys. Definitely
I love
help.
we're just
help
begging
get
for
that.
5-star ratings at
Help
this
get that
point.
baby up. But yeah, you can catch it there if you want to listen to the show like at work or on the way to work and all that good stuff. A lot of people like to do that, so I think the show is
I'm gonna
perfect.
say bye
for that.
now because I really have to go. To the
Yes,
bathroom.
he's got to go to the
Bye.
bathroom. So, anyways, we're gonna check out anyway. So for Eat My Addiction, Ellohime, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Later.
Bye.